TCN targets best frequency control in West Africa. Ekiti State Governor wants TCN to increase bulk power to Benin Electricity Distribution Company. TCN seeks NERC reversal of DISCO's management of 132 kV customers. We also bring you an interview with the Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, on how the management is repositioning TCN for greater bulk power delivery. You're on to another edition of Power Wheel, a production of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. I am Chiwenwa Anyao. To ensure the increased wheeling of bulk electricity and a stable national electricity grid, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, says it plans to further improve the grid frequency to become the best in West Africa by 2019.
The Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, revealed this plan at the 11th Bola Tinubu colloquium to mark the birthday of the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, in Abuja. In his presentation, he said the target is to build on the progress in frequency stability achieved since December 2018.
For the first time in the history of Nigeria, we achieved frequency control of 49.8 and 50.2 Hz for 65% of the time from December 23rd to date, which means our stability of our grid in terms of frequency is the same as Ghana and is better than any other country in West Africa. We have not stopped at that. We have put those generators that are not providing free governor to provide it. And we believe by June this year, we should be able to have a frequency control that is better than any country in West Africa.
Mohammed explained that remarkable progress has been made in the power sector with the rise of transmission wheeling capacity to 8,100 megawatts.
When this government took over power, capacity of the grid was only 4,000 megawatts. The capacity of distribution was only about 3,500. And the capacity of transmission was about 4,000. The capacity of the grid has been expanded to 8,100. The capacity of generation was 7,500. And if you look at the last combined peak, which took place in February this year, the capacity of the distribution has also expanded to 5,375, which means we have moved.
Mohammed called for more investment by the power distribution companies, DISCOs, in their networks as TCN was losing valuable equipment due to lack of system protection in wheeling power to the DISCOs networks.
In the last 1 year, we have lost 5 transmission power transformers across the country. And all those 5 are those that are serving the customer directly without protection on the side of DISCOs. And those transformers, we have 2 in Benin, 1 in Onitsha, 2 in Abuja here. Now, if we don't have investment in distribution so that they can have protection on their side to take care of all these inadequacies, it means that even the expansion we are doing in the transmission is a waste of time.
Speaking, the celebrant Bola Tinubu called for the review of the power sector privatization and stoppage of estimated billing for Nigerians to fully enjoy the investment the present government was making.
Privatization. Please, let's revisit that privatization. Put experts together. We must put an end to the practice of billing people for electricity they never received. We must show them that practice is the vestige of the past. A person should be charged accurately and only for the power that they use.
Ekiti State Governor Dr. Kayode Fayemi has urged the Transmission Company of Nigeria to increase the level of bulk electricity it wheels to the network of Benin Electricity Distribution Company to improve power supply in the state.
Dr. Fayemi made this request when he paid a courtesy visit to the TCN corporate headquarters in Abuja and was received by the Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, and his team. The governor explained the need for TCN to increase bulk power transmission to the network of Benin Electricity Distribution Company, BEDC, in Ekiti State after he had met with the DISCO. He said,
they themselves said, look, this is a TCN matter until TCN increases what comes to Ekiti. Out of the 4 states that BEDC is in charge of, Ekiti, Ondo, Edo, and Delta were the least supplying. I think only 9% of what they get in terms of generating capacity to zone comes to Ekiti. And with a growing population, with increased activities, particularly industrial, commercial, infrastructure development, I mean, it goes without saying that we will need a lot more support from you.
Mr. Fayemi said, if the investment TCN plans are made, then there will be improvements in Ekiti State.
Some of the things that we need, particularly for our government establishments and then for our street lights, can be put on that direct supply, whilst the domestic users can go on capacity that is lower than that. And that's what I really want to plead for.
Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed intimated the governor about the plans TCN has for the states in boosting the presence of transmission infrastructure there, especially in creating a 330 kV transmission substation in Ado Ekiti.
We are looking at other options of turning in, turn out one of those lines, because there are some lines that pass not too far from Ado Ekiti. The line that moves from Gamu to Oshogo, we can turn out that line. The other option that we can do is to take a 330 from Oshogo, Akure 330 substation and come and link it to the line of that go to Gamu. So that we put a 330 in Ado Ekiti. So these are the options we are looking at, but we are very serious about it.
Continuing with a presentation on how TCN will add 3,000 megawatts capacity soon, he said,
we are going to recover nothing less than 3,000 megawatts of capacity, which means our capacity will jump from the 8,000 that I told you to maybe 11,000. This is automatically by conducting. So this is the project that we are doing currently now all over the country. You see those ones that are dot are new lines that we are going to do. Those ones that you see are darker, they are 330 kV line. Those that are green and lighter, they are 132 kV line. You know, our voltage is only 132 kV and 330 kV line.
He said TCN was working to reconduct the Oshogo to Ekiti line so more power can be transmitted to the 132 kV substation, which had its transformer upgraded by 60 MVA under the current administration.
The capacity of the transformer is slightly above the capacity of the line. So it means that we can't add another transformer in Ekiti without upgrading the line. Because any transformer we add in Ekiti, it means that transformer can only be used for the purpose of redundancy. If something spoils, it should, but it can't carry load because there's no power to carry. So we are likely going to reconduct the line.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, has submitted a position paper to the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission seeking to amend the existing supplementary order for the transitional electricity market so that electricity customers on 132 kV can be removed from the distribution companies and made eligible customers.
At the public hearing on the request, which held at the NEC headquarters in Abuja, the NEC Commissioner for Legal, Licensing and Compliance, Mr. Daffy Akpeneye, said stakeholders were being given opportunity at the hearing on the TCN position before a panel of 3 NEC commissioners.
At the end of all presentations, if the Commission feels we need further representation from anybody, we will write to you to make that specific request. If we do not, based on information received today, the panel will consider all that has been done and would use that. That will form the basis upon which we reach a decision on where to go with TCN's request.
Chairman of the NEC panel and Vice Chairman of NEC, Engineer Sanusi Garuba, in his address said TCN had written to NEC and the Commission responded by conducting a public hearing on the request.
The second issue for determination in the hearing today is whether the Commission should declare all 330 and 132 customers as eligible customers, because that is the only category that they fall under the Act, market rules, and the grid code. The third issue for determination today is whether all 330 kV 132 customers should pay their energy and capacity charges directly to GENCOs that they have contracted with, while the wheeling, ancillary, and market operation charges should be paid to the market operator. The ground rules have already been laid by Commissioner Nathan, and we will dive into the public hearing today with a presentation by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.
Presenting the position paper, the Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Guru Mohammed, said he was happy that the effort started 2 years ago was yielding results. Citing the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act, EPSRA 2005, Mohammed said,
That is the Section 100 of the Power Sector Reform Act. It defined a DISCO. A DISCO is a system, means the system of facility as defined by an act consists wholly or mainly of low voltage, less than 132 kV electricity lines used for distribution of electricity from the grid supply point to the point of delivery to the customers for eligible customers, and include any electrical plant and meter operated in connection with the distribution of electricity, but shall not include any part of the transmission system. So if it should not be any part of the, how can they transfer? So that order of NAC is a contradiction to the Power Sector Reform Act.
Further citing the grid code guiding power industry practice, Mohammed said,
the grid code and any of the code defining distribution as means conveying energy at a voltage less than 132. That is also the position of the grid code. Grid code, for information, is the second most important law document in the power sector. Then the next one, the implication of the definition of the grid code is that 132 kV network and above are clearly outside the domain of the distribution system.
He also noted that the performance contract the DISCOs signed with the Bureau of Public Enterprises does not include the 132 kV customers. Submitting to the panel, he said,
clearly, sir, we believe that TCN is cheated. TCN is the only part of the power sector that is not covered now. The DISCOs collect money that belong to the market and they give to the market discretionary. If you look at the payment assurance that was given to the market, it is not covering TCN. So the GENCOs are to some extent covered by payment assurance. DISCOs are covered by the fact that they collect money for the market and they keep a lot of it. TCN is just left stranded.
Other participants at the public hearing made their submissions. Representative of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, ANED, Prince Adetunji Adeyeye, said contractual terms cannot be changed unless by legal means.
You can't argue, especially when you sign the contract and enter a contract, to say now you want to change your contract by changing who you interpret with. This cannot be something you can seek validly legally and by law. It's if you want, essentially, if you want to change this, you have to change not only the term, you have to change so many things. And of course, it comes to the point of distortion that my colleagues have eloquently argued for in the market.
President of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, Engineer Mansour Ahmed, backed the TCN position as he urged NEC to look at the position of all participants in adjusting rules.
We see the presentation by TCN as part of the process of continuously looking at the industry, looking at the market, and introducing changes as necessary so that we can see improvement on a continuing basis. I believe that NAC has a responsibility to not accept a position that, look, we must remain stagnant for 10 years, 15 years. It's not possible. We cannot remain stagnant for this period. If we do so, we're in serious, serious trouble. Our economy is in enough trouble as it is.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, is positioned for expansion with various ongoing projects on transmission substations and lines to wheel more power for distribution to the end users. The Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, speaks about them in this interview.
When we took over in February to date, we have done a lot of things working with the engineers and the management of TCN. We've been able to expand the grid from that time we took over in February to date to December, particularly December 2018. The capacity of the grid moved from about 5,000 to 8,100. So if in 2 years, less than 2 years, we moved the grid by adding another 3,000. This is exceptionally is an exceptional achievement. We are able to achieve frequency control also that has never been achieved in the history of the industry. From December 23rd to date, we achieved frequency control of the average of 65% at the 49.8 and 50.2 Hz, which is the WAP standard. We are able to achieve an average about 65%. This is unprecedented. In the history of the sector, we have never achieved this kind of frequency control. And we have been able to also procure spinning reserve through a competitive procurement process. Also was the first time that we have a procurement of spinning reserve. So all the efforts that they were supposed to do to stabilize the grid and also ensure the quality of power we have taken. Before, all the focus was on how to expand the network. There is no much focus on the quality, but this time we are not only focusing on the expansion, but we are also focusing on the quality of power. And if you look at, we've been able to also recover out of 800 containers that were stranded in the port. Some of them were stranded for over 15 years. Some of them have been auctioned. As at last week, we have recovered 730 containers out of the 800 containers. And the remaining, we also was able to get approval from Customs to pick another 51 containers, which means if you add the two, it will be 781 containers. So this is unprecedented also. Yes, it's unprecedented. And I also want to tell you that we have also changed the procurement and project management system of TCN. In procurement, the system that brought these 800 containers that were stranded in the port has been changed. It's no more, we cannot have that kind of stranded containers again. And also, we have done scoping of our project in such a way that now only the best can bid for our project. And not only that, we have also come with what we call pre-qualification. Before, we don't do pre-qualification. So, but now qualification is very, very important to how we do our procurement. So these are things that we do on the soft side to ensure that we don't have the kind of problem we have in the past. I also want to tell you that we have done the audit of TCN and assured the investors that we are capable of running a transparent organization. And at the same time also we have been able to put a project management system that the key staff, 4 of them, 4 project management system, that all the key staff were selected through a competitive merit base. And we've trained them. And on the basis of those 2, that is the audit and the fact that we are putting a system that will work, we have attracted about $1.6 billion from multinational donors. And this is the first time such kind of money is being gotten in the industry. The Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program is based on what they call least cost 20-year least cost expansion plan. For your information also, the 20-year least cost expansion plan, which is a study that was carried by TCN under our leadership, this kind of study has never happened in the history of the sector, which means our expansion and our rehabilitation are based on study. We are not just doing it haphazardly. We are doing it based on study. So this is what we have done. So as at now, I can also tell you that we have empowered TCN engineers to also take over challenges that before they don't take. And that is why we have used in-house engineers to install several transformers across the nation.
How does TCN relate with the generation and distribution companies?
All the relationship of those companies is guided by the grid code and the act. You know, we are guided by law. We have our interface demarcation. We know where the distribution companies' assets start. We know where our operations start and where their own end. At the same time, we have the same team between us and the generators. And you know, we have also meter between us that shows what flows. So if there's any losses, we know where those losses are attributed to. Is it to distribution or to transmission? So our relationship are guided by rules. For example, transmission has a connection agreement with the generation companies, and we also have a connection agreement with the distribution companies. And the rules guiding our relationship is well spelled out. You know, we are not only transmitting electricity, we are also the dispatch company. We dispatch because transmission consists of not only, TCN consists of not only transmission service provider, but we also have market operator and a system operator. So those, the work of system operator is to dispatch the grid. And it's our job also to do that. And in dispatching the grid, we have rules that we are guided by. You know, we are also guided by the merit order that shows clearly how the grid is going to be dispatched. So our relationship is cordial, but we, you know, in the power industry, we are connected to each other. So in the power industry, any of these three, either generation, transmission, or distribution, can bankrupt the other.
What are the key challenges faced by this company?
As at now, the biggest challenge we have is ensuring that we have investment into the distribution network. The distribution network are very, very weak. Of course, transmission still have its own issue, but I can tell you that everywhere we have issue, we have plan on how to mitigate it. But distribution, that area, in distribution, up to now, there are certain things that is not taking place in distribution. So we need to work very quickly and see how we can expand the distribution network and also rehabilitate the network in such a way that it will be easier for us to operate.
And now introducing our new segment, Did You Know? A segment that gives you tips on Nigerian electricity supply industry is next. Vandalism is threat to TCN assets and stable power supply nationwide. Did you know that the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, is making huge investments to attain a 20,000 megawatt national grid capacity by year 2021? To this effect, it has commissioned over 30 transformers in the past 2 years while reconductoring transmission lines and reinforcing towers to better deliver bulk electricity. However, these efforts are threatened by vandals. TCN recently lost 6 transmission towers to vandals in Delta State. But did you know also that as a patriotic Nigerian, you can play a role to stop this nefarious activity? All you need to do is simply report any suspicious activity to the nearest security agency around your area. You can also contact us with this information via our social media accounts as we escalate such moves to the security agencies. That's it on Did You Know? We're We're glad you followed through on this edition. Join us next week on the same station for another edition of Power Wheel. This episode and the previous ones are available on our YouTube channel. You can also connect with us on these other platforms showing on your screen. I am Chinwenwa Anyao, and goodbye.